everyone, and welcome back to another video. You can see, obviously, we are back in the Fiero, and that means one thing: Fiero update time. Alright, so you guys join me. First off, we're straight into driving the car already for a few reasons. First off, I just wanted to drive my car, honestly. I'd take any chance I can have to drive this car. And second, I thought it'd be, a bit of a change up. You've already seen the car, so we're changing it up a little bit, and I'm just going to talk you through everything that's been going on. So it's been a little bit since we did our last Fiero update, if you remember, or if you haven't seen the video, go watch it immediately. But I've made two Fiero videos so far. My first one was when I first got the car. I hadn't done anything to it. I talked about kind of my initial reasons for buying one and all of that stuff. Then the second one, I talked about getting it back after kind of a big update had just happened to it. We got the suspension rebuilt, we got the steering rebuilt, and it all happened because one of the spark plugs got stuck in the back of the engine, which are the hardest things to change ever. And we had to take it to a professional, and then some other stuff happened, and it was this huge rebuild of the car. Recently, we've had another issue with it. I was at my friend's house, went to press in the clutch, straight to the floor. Absolutely no pressure at all. The clutch line had burst, and I was stranded. Now, thankfully, my friend only lived about 5 minutes away from my house. We, with our GMC Envoy, another video I've done, make sure to go check it out. We got a U-Haul trailer with it, put the Fiero on there, and then towed it back to our house, which was actually a lot of fun. But the Fiero was not mobile. We couldn't put it in gear. Obviously, you can't move the clutch line burst, had no pressure. So we took it to the same guy, Fiero John, who had worked on it before, and asked him, hey, can you fix this? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he fixed that. He also replaced all of my brake lines, which were in a similar state. As I was saying, the brake lines were in a similar state. Those were also kind of rusted. You have the clutch line comes down on this side, the brake line goes down on the other side, and they're held in with these brackets, and those brackets begin to rust and corrode, and then the line bursts. So all of my brake lines and my clutch line is now replaced with stainless steel lines, which is pretty cool. That's all repaired. Another issue we had with the car was my climate control, the air direction actuator, or some fancy name they had for it. That was dead, basically. It didn't change the air direction anymore. And what's worse, it just went grrr, 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 like a dying motor over and over and over again. It was probably the most annoying noise ever. But that is also fixed, which I'm told is a pain. Apparently, those actuators you get for the climate control, they no longer make. Those parts are just not around. So he had to get it from a parts Fiero, take that apart, and you got to take like the whole dashboard apart, which if you've seen my previous Fiero video where I replaced my select cable for the shifter, that is a pain because there's a single plastic piece that runs all the way down here and up here. So in order to get in anything in here or anything there, all of this has to come out, which is really annoying. Again, Fiero John got it all sorted out. He restores all kinds of Fieros and stuff, so that's set. And the Fiero is back, and once again, in running order. But yeah, so I wanted to make this video to give an update just to people who were following. Like, the Fiero is back, it's okay, it's fine. But also I wanted to talk about some of the maintenance that has had to be done to this car. As I said, we've now had to, I've almost owned the car for a year. I'm coming up on a year in like 2 months or so. I've owned the car, and I've had to send it away for like 2 major repair sessions, which it seems kind of bad, right? And you think, oh man, this car is so unreliable, why would anyone own it, right? But hear me out. This car is 35 years old. It's an old car, and also it's only got 43,000 miles on it. I'm coming up on 44. I have a feeling that this car sat for a little bit, and the maintenance that was done to it maybe wasn't quite what it should have been. For example, now I don't know if this was the owner's fault at all or not. The spark plugs, when we were changing those, the 3 in the back, so this is a transversely mounted V6, you have 3 facing this way, 3 facing this way. The 3 facing this way are basically pinned up against your firewall here, and they're really hard to get to unless you take like the trunk lid off or the intake manifold off. They're super annoying to get to. It looks like those had never been changed. Like, if they took it to a dealership, they had just changed the 3, like, oh, those are hard to get to, and called it a day there. So that was a whole part of the maintenance. Another thing is, like I said, I think this car sat for a while. When I got it, there were leaves all in the cowl and even in the front and in the back, like leaves all over it. Now when I started driving, because I drive this car a lot. I drive it like 2 days a week, which I guess doesn't sound like a lot, but for a car like this, I drive it quite frequently. And all these things started to go wrong with it just from wear, right? It sat for a while, nothing happened, and then as I'm driving it, it kind of, stuff starts to break just because I'm driving it so much. But now with these 2 repairs out of the way, I think the Fiero should finally be set for a while. I'm hoping, because I'm out of money. The price I paid for this car, I have now paid also for all the repairs. Like, the repairs have cost the cost of the whole car now for these two fixes. But I really think now that we have these repairs done, the car should be set. I mean, we fixed like everything, right? We've redone the suspension, we've done the steering, we've done pretty much all the lines are now stainless steel, and I'm really hoping that there are no more issues. And I don't think that this is just a Fiero like focused thing. I think this is just in general for old cars, right? They sit for a while, they don't run, and then you have all of these issues. But anyway, I don't want to get bogged down with all of that, and I am here driving my car. This is, I still think, one of the best cars ever. And I know that sounds super cheesy, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's a Fiero. And you hear the numbers, right? It makes 140 horsepower, 160 foot-pounds of torque. It's not all that much. And it's an 80s General Motors car, right? I beg to differ. Listen to this engine. It's so cool. Oh, man. There's a bunch of reasons that despite a lot of the maintenance that has been done to it and all the money I've put into the car, that it's totally worth it. It's absolutely worth it to me, okay? For a number of reasons. Now, when you buy a car, I was thinking about this lately. When you buy a car, you, as a car person, you kind of start to identify with it, right? Like, I'm the guy that bought a Fiero, or other people, like, I'm a Trans Am guy, or I'm a Corvette guy, or something like that, right? Because of all the cars, and you have all the choices of every car you could buy, you chose this one. And so, it's important to you, right? And so, as a car guy, I am now kind of the Fiero guy. Like, a lot of my friends know me as, oh, it's that guy that owns a Fiero. And I'm totally fine with that, and I love that. Check out this Chevelle real quick, though. I won't buy it, or I guess Alan wants to buy it. As I said, totally worth it. For one, there's like nothing else like this car. I've said it in a bunch of my videos. This is the first American mass-produced mid-engine car, and out of all the American mid-engine cars, which there aren't that many, right? You could probably count them on like one hand. You have the Corvette, the C8, which is the big one that just recently came out, the 05 GT. The new GT is probably not a mass-produced car, I have to be honest. Even the other GT kind of wasn't. And like, that's it. You have a few one-off companies like the Saleen S7 or maybe like the SSC stuff. But like, other than that, there's like no mid-engine cars, and there's none in this price category. It's really a one-off in that department. The Pontiac Fiero was only ever built by Pontiac, and I think that's kind of cool. There's not like a bunch of other versions of it. There's only the Pontiac Fiero. And even more than that, there's only this generation. It's the only generation of the Fiero. There's not like, different cars that came with the Fiero brand. This is the only one. Probably because it was a sales failure. But more than that, it's unique in that respect. It's mid-engine, it's American, and it's from the 80s. You just don't see that many 80s cars around. I wouldn't use this as a daily driver because it's that special. You don't want to like detract the specialness from this, but I drive it at pretty much every other opportunity I can. So recently, my brother, the local mechanic, who most of you have probably seen in a video, is now a dad. And we were going over to celebrate with the baby. And it was fun because me in the Fiero and then my dad in his C7 Corvette, we kind of convoyed together. It was so cool. We both took our roofs off because this panel actually comes out and you can store it in the frunk. And then his roof on the C7, they're all target tops. You can take it off, put it in the trunk. We got to convoy our cool cars, which was so neat. I don't know what it is about having just a cool car, but it's so much fun just to take out, driving experience aside. And just be different from everybody else. Like, screw your crossovers. I have a Fiero. I do think that the Fiero is not an unreliable car. I just think that it's a 30-year-old car. It's funny, I was reading about the Ferrari F355, which is a really cool car, and I was like, man, I really want one of those. But there's this maintenance you have to do to it, where every like 3 years or something, you need to get all of the belts replaced, which involves taking the entire engine out of the car and doing this whole service to it and that stuff. And that just got me thinking, like, the Fiero doesn't have anything like that. This is a mid-engine car. I wouldn't call it an exotic car, but that's kind of a good thing. It's made by Pontiac, who makes like normal cars, and in this then you get some of that where this engine shares its architecture with a bunch of normal cars, and it doesn't need these crazy maintenance and stuff like that. And that's kind of the car in general. It is still a GM car. You don't get all these crazy like repair expenses, which I think is pretty cool. Here's my favorite part of the drive. What a great sounding V6. So it's old enough that it's analog, all right? Look at these squares everywhere, so cool. And it's all buttons. There's very limited technology in this car. But it's new enough that it's drivable. I've got fuel injection, I've got climate controls. It does have air conditioning, but it's not working right now because I need to convert the coolant over. And it's got like modern enough technology that I can drive it normally. Now it's quiet, it rides nice. Like, I don't know, you can use it quite frequently, and it's just that much more drivable, but you still get that much more analog feel to this car. It's right in that like niche spot. So anyway, this video has been a long tangent of a lot of things that I've talked about that have just been on my mind. But the main takeaway is the Fiero is back. I'm glad, I'm happy that it's back. It's totally worth it to me. I like thoroughly enjoy driving this car. It's so cool. It's so different from everything else. It drives so good. Just listen to that V6, just like, it's so much fun. So it's a joy to drive. I'm so happy to have it back. We'll be having more Fiero videos out and stuff. But hopefully the large maintenance is over and I won't be stranded again. I'm really hoping that all of that is now sorted. Anyway, everyone, thank you for watching this tangent of whatever comes out of my mouth while I'm driving my Fiero. Thank you, everyone, for watching. As I said, we'll have more Fiero content coming out soon. But the Fiero is back and hopefully won't be gone again. Thank you, everyone. See you guys.